Hello, class, and welcome to Chapter 2 of Healthcare Reimbursement and Finance, or Healthcare Finance and Reimbursement, either way. Very happy to have you again, and I hope by now we've all gotten a sense of what this class entails, and clearly time is moving really, really fast because here we are already at Chapter 2. Can you imagine? But anyway, just to get the ball rolling here, let's look at our scripture for the particular week. And this comes from Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. That to me just speaks of stewardship on the most part. And what does that mean, especially as it pertains to this course? I think we have real responsibility to garner all we can from this course, make it relevant to what we do, and certainly work it and keep it. Because at some point or another in your healthcare career, you will be faced by financial demands. You may be in a position where you have to do some financial reporting. You may be in a position where you have to read some financial documents to understand the financial health of your organization. And all that is covered in this particular course. So I certainly hope you're gleaning something from it. I certainly hope it'll help make you even better stewards of your responsibilities at work, and I certainly hope it will give you greater clarity as far as the financial health and well-being of your healthcare organization. So getting started right away, Chapter 2, what are the primary objectives we have in Chapter 2? Essentially, we have 5 main objectives. One, we want to be able to recognize the importance of the accounting function, the importance of reporting, importance of analyzing, and importance of planning. And typically, these objectives are for the non-financial manager, but even then, they serve as a great tool, even for the financial managers anyhow. The second thing we want to do is we want to come away from it understanding the differences between financial accounting and managerial accounting. Third thing is we want to be able to interpret the basic financial reports, such as income statements and cash flow statements and balance sheets. You want to be able to look at those and at least make sense of them when you get one or when you see them. Every year your organization may have a financial report on how it did, have some balance sheets in its annual report. You want to be able to look at those and certainly get a good understanding, or at least be able to comprehend the financial health and well-being of your organization. The fourth objective is to be able to identify and explain the different components of financial statements, such as the revenue, expenses, and owner's equity. What do those mean? We'll certainly find out. And we also want to be able to explain the use of the general ledger in the financial management process. So moving right along, let's start with financial management. What essentially is financial management, or also referred to as financial accounting? So essentially, financial accounting is a critical piece of the decision-making process in not just healthcare organizations, but all types of organizations. It provides components of financial reports, such as the assets, the liabilities, owner's equity. It provides, financial accounting provides the tools to help track general ledger and journal entries. Financial accounting also provides the tools for making really important decisions around budgets and financial statements. So essentially, when we think about financial accounting, we can think of it sort of as a two-pronged fork, so to speak. Financial accounting and, of course, the various types of reports. Under financial accounting, of course, you have financial statements, which can be internal and external. Under the types of reports, you have your balance sheets, you've got your statements of operations, you've got your statements of changes in net assets, and certainly a statement of changes in your cash flow. So those are important pieces of the financial accounting process. Now, moving right along, we talked about assets. What are assets? Assets, as you probably know or have a general sense, are essentially your cash, your inventory, the accounts receivable the organization has, building and equipment. Now, what are liabilities? Of course, another key component. Liabilities essentially represent the debt of the organization. And that includes accounts payable, that is, funds or revenue due to an outside, revenue that has to be paid to an outside vendor for purchase of supplies, equipment, or services. And there's also notes payable as well, which is essentially a note payable is a financial obligation supported by a contract, okay, and certainly a specific time for repayment. So again, when we look at assets on one side and liabilities on the other, we can pretty much narrow it down to assets being cash, inventory, accounts receivable, buildings, and equipment. Liabilities would typically include your accounts payable, loans, mortgages, payroll taxes, and even income taxes. And when we look at net assets and equity, which is another critical component, net assets and equity are really the difference between the value of the assets versus what the organization may owe. And there is a formula to that, okay? Basically, assets minus liabilities give you your net assets. And that is also referred to as your owner's equity. In other words, what is left over, right? And then, of course, assets equal liabilities plus net assets. Again, another way of rephrasing owner's equity. Now, looking at revenue and expenses, we are really thinking in terms of various categories. So within revenue categories, we have operating revenue and non-operating revenue. Within expenses, we have expenses are essentially the result of expending resource to operate the organization on a daily basis, all right? And then the expenses need to be tracked and recorded certainly by each department. As far as your general ledger and journal entries that we mentioned initially, what are they? A general ledger is basically where entries are recorded in a chronological manner. And with that, department codes are used to properly allocate the revenue and expenses. On the journal entry side, you essentially have debits and credits, and these are typically recorded at the individual department level. And then under the managerial accounting process, which is a very key part of financial management, okay, you essentially are required to focus on you basically focus on the needs of the internal customer. Again, keep in mind, most of the time when we talk about customers, we talk about external customers. In this case, we're talking about a process that focuses on the needs of the internal customer, and therefore they have to be consistent and accurate. And certainly the managerial accounting process focuses more on the future, what is coming down the road. Now, under managerial accounting, you've got definitions of costs. This is basically the use of resources in the development or manufacturing of a product, distribution of a product, or even in many cases, even just providing services to a client or a customer. What are the types of costs that we look at when we're talking about costs from a financial perspective? We basically are looking at direct costs and indirect costs. And now, at the same time, within those direct and indirect costs, you also have fixed costs, you have variable costs, you have semi-fixed costs, and then, of course, you have to keep in mind that it's very important to allocate your overhead, and a key component of that is costs, okay? So essentially, when you talk about allocating costs across different requirements, or different roles, or different functions, essentially there are various ways in which these costs are distributed. And those ways include the direct method, the step-down method, the double distribution method, and the simultaneous method, right? Again, within the whole notion of managerial accounting, it's very important to remember that businesses or healthcare organizations must operate with budgets, just like hopefully we all do in our own homes. Healthcare organizations or organizations in general have to have budgets. But what are the types of budgets they may have? Because there's multiple types of budgets. The main budgets tend to be fixed budgets, flexible budgets, activity-based budgets, zero-based budgets. And really the difference is with fixed budgets, you're focusing on activities in the upcoming year. With flexible budgets, you're focused on productivity and historical data. With activity-based budgets, you're basically focused on projects instead of departments. And where you talk about zero-based budgets, that's essentially where an organization may decide to continue or discontinue a service for that matter, or product, based on each department justifying and prioritizing the activities of each year. Now, when we think about the budget process, it's probably you could probably break it down into 4 components, and that is your budget cycle, your budget components, your budget variances, and certainly an explanation of the variance. And again, when we talk about budgets, and particularly so capital budgets tend to be focused primarily on large purchases in the coming year. And these purchases can be a large dollar value, maybe a long-term investment, and they can be associated with capital improvements such as expanding a hospital wing, or including a new X-ray department, building a new X-ray department, or building a new MRI, or purchasing of an MRI equipment, to develop an MRI division, so to speak. So all these tend to be associated with capital budgets on the most part. Now, within the financial statements, you've got some very key elements that one must always pay attention to. First, you've got the balance sheet, okay, which is very important. And in the balance sheet, sometimes referred to as a financial statement of financial position, you basically are able to see what the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity are based on an organization's financial condition. So it essentially shows, the balance sheet will show a specific set point in time. It'll separate assets and liabilities in short-term and long-term status. And it'll certainly show whether the owner's equity is negative or positive. Certainly, it's preferable that the owner's equity is possible on the most part. Now, again, when we talk about financial statements, we also, of course, we have income statements too. And we have the cost of goods sold and gross profit. As far as the income statements are concerned, you basically have revenue, expenses, and net profits, basically what the organization has earned. As far as cost of goods sold and gross profit, those are basically the costs that are associated with inventory, labor, materials, overhead for inventory sold during a specific period of time. And then we have, of course, the cash flow statement as a third part of the financial statements. Basically, your cash flow statement is a required part of a complete set of financial statements. So an organization cannot call its financial statements complete if a cash flow statement is missing. So essentially, the primary purpose behind the cash flow statement is to provide the organization with the amount of cash available during a certain period. So it tracks cash in and out, helps the organization determine the ability to meet their obligations, and certainly it helps assess the impact of investing and financing on the organization. Now, we've talked about statements, we've talked about their various components, we've talked about how they're used, and we've sort of differentiated them, but those things would not be important without understanding the people that actually use these financial statements, right? And who are the primary users? We're talking about management, which will use them to assess the condition or the financial health and well-being of the organization. You've got owners that will determine what equity may be in the company that is available for them. We've got banks that may use financial statements to determine the organization's ability to borrow and repay. You've got suppliers who may use financial statements to essentially determine how much credit to extend in the course of their business with the organization. Now, as far as various methods of accounting are applicable, in organizations, and one of the most popular methods of accounting is, of course, the accrual accounting method. And what does that mean? It essentially means that all revenue and related expenses are accounted for in the same accounting period. So essentially, you can't look at revenue and related expenses for July of this year and start looking at July of next year. That wouldn't be a proper accrual accounting method. So we'd have to look at essentially revenue and related expenses for July 2021 to properly reference the term the accrual accounting method. So again, we're looking at revenue expenses. It shows that all revenue and expenses associated with generating revenue are captured in the same period. Keep that in mind. Very important to keep that in mind. Same period, okay? Revenue and related expenses for the same period. Now, you also have the ratio analysis that is used essentially to help further detail an organization's financial strength with regards to lending, with regards to purchasing from suppliers. Essentially, what the ratios will do will help break out certain parts of an organization for purchasing or borrowing. And when comparing ratios, certainly against other companies, it's very important that you're comparing ratios against similar organizations or the same type of company, and certainly part of the same industry. So you can't use a ratio analysis for an IT company and compare that to a hospital system. They definitely don't belong to the same industry. They are not the same kind of organization. So just keep that in mind, please. Now, at the same time, the current ratio analysis also helps determine the ability of organizations to pay their current liabilities and the use of their current assets. Now, what does that mean? It essentially means to perform a ratio analysis of to see what the ratio analysis is for an organization, you'd have to divide the total currents of the organization by the total liabilities. That being said, it's important to keep in mind that there's also the asset test ratio as part of the ratio analysis that basically looks at cash plus short-term investments plus net current receivables divided by total current liabilities. Finally, as far as the debt ratio is concerned, this helps look at the ratios compared to total assets and total liabilities. Again, keep that in mind, total assets, total liabilities. It allows the organizations to measure themselves against similar organizations. And with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions and concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. Certainly pay attention to the homework assignments because I think they'll make very practical sense for you and will certainly be beneficial for you now and in the future. God bless and looking forward to hearing from you.